It's January 21st, 2018. You're listening to Fancy Ramen, a podcast mostly about video games. I'm Neil.
I'm Cookie.
And I'm Scott.
And this special episode, it looks or sounds like Scott has been brushing up on some obscure knowledge to test me.
I don't know if it's to test you necessarily, but I just happened to hear some pretty interesting things from a coworker of mine who knew a little bit about David Lynch. For those of you who don't know who David Lynch is, a quick excerpt from Wikipedia. He's an American director, screenwriter, producer, painter, musician, actor, photographer, described as the most important director of this era.
Who described
the
him as
Renaissance
such?
man of modern American filmmaking and the first popular surrealist. He is apparently the best person in film to have ever lived. I don't know if I've seen any of his work.
Yeah, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that particular claim either. I do want to say for the record that since we may as well bridge this together, I'll be talking about a book I read which is directly related to some David Lynch work and my revelations about the story and David Lynch in the process.
So all I wanted to ask you is, do you know where David Lynch actually was born?
No. The Northwest?
Right here in good old Missoula, Montana.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I found some other similarities. Apparently, this coworker of mine was telling me that, and so of course this is all hearsay, but it seems to line up with what I've seen. Some of his characters are actually named after like streets here in the town, like what's her name, Palmer, whatever.
Laura Palmer?
Laura Palmer. Yep, Laura Palmer is named after Palmer Street. And I think the map for the town in Twin Peaks is actually supposed to be an inverted version of our town map as well in Missoula. So he draws a little bit of inspiration from his hometown.
That's interesting because just the dualities of Twin Peaks and the things that happen in Twin Peaks would suggest that. Well, how far is Missoula from the border of Canada?
Probably a couple, maybe not 200 miles, but something close to that. I'll double check on Google Maps real quick.
Well, you don't need to. Just that ballpark figure is enough. Because I wonder if a lot of the plot that happens in Twin Peaks, which I think is supposed to take place around Washington State somewhere, if it could actually just apply for Missoula. Did he have any other interesting trivia bits?
Really no other factoids that I was aware of. I'm sure, I remember hearing more, but I don't remember what they were. So,
I thought you were going to, in the docket, it says David Lynch trivia for Neil. And I was wondering if you were going to make me sound like an idiot regarding David Lynch, because I'm in love with some of his work, but I also don't necessarily think he is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
So yeah, I just double checked on Google Maps, and it looks like if we were to go straight up from where I'm at, it is actually about 198 miles from the border. So I was pretty close with 200.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, that's following a road though. If we went like as the crow flies, it would probably be like 170, 175.
But I mean, once that wall gets built there, because after we have the wall dividing Mexico and America, we obviously need to make that wall of lumber to keep the Canadians out. Fucking universal health
don't
care.
bring up the lumber tax. I had some friends moving back into the States while that was just being enacted, and they got hit with a pretty like high penalty for moving back during that period of time with the lumber tax changing, which I don't know how that relates to
moving,
to them moving. But yeah, I remember my friend telling me that unfortunately tacked a little bit onto their bills.
Were they transporting a large amount of lumber?
Well, they do have some very nice furniture. Now, I'm not exactly sure. I think it has more to do with just how things were being taxed or charged at the border then.
Well, so while we're on the topic of David Lynch, I read The Final Dossier, which is a book. Basically, I guess you could say it's the finale of Twin Peaks, maybe as a media series or anything in general. And I'm not talking about the restaurant, obviously. But the final dossier was written entirely by Mark Frost, who's the co-creator of Twin Peaks. And for anyone that has not seen the third season of Twin Peaks, it's fucking confusing. And a lot of really weird stuff happens. Like there's an episode, these are hour-long episodes. One episode is almost entirely just a lot of practical visual effects, smoke, and people in... Like, I don't want to call it blackface because it's not like they are going the racist blackface route, but they're covered in like coal,
Soot
basically.
or something?
Yeah, thank you. That's the right way to put it. And just a bunch of these old miner looking guys walking around a desolate gas station.
Yeah, being sooty is very different from intentionally trying to
Pass off as a different ethnicity, yes.
Yeah.
And instead of answering really any questions, the third season of Twin Peaks, and it's good, I enjoyed it, just adds more. And this final dossier seems to be a way for one of the creators to kind of summarize what happens to or what has happened to each character. And I guess I probably shouldn't go into spoilers too much, but it definitely seems to add, I guess, fitting endings for every story you could, or every question you could have, including like the ultimate conclusion of what the fuck happens to Laura Palmer. Because season 3 definitely seems to change things up. And it kind of made me come to terms with the fact that like with a lot of, just like with a lot of other David Lynch works where he's like a principal creative force on it, like I don't think David Lynch is essentially good at telling stories. He's just good at doing cool, unusual things, I guess. In case you watched Twin Peaks season 3 and then kind of forgot about Twin Peaks, definitely check out the final dossier because it's really satisfying. And while there are still some open-ended questions, it certainly is a great way to cap off the series as a whole. I also have been rewatching is it Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun? I think that's the title.
Monthly Girls.
Sorry, did you cut out?
Or did you just
I
stop
hope I
at
didn't
Monthly
cut out.
Girls?
Yeah, it's Nozaki-kun, Monthly Girls, or whatever in English.
You just get that shipment of monthly girls. And, every month it's a new girl. No,
yeah, and with Amazon Prime, you don't have to wait more than a day when you trade in the old one.
Unless you're in Canada.
Yeah, that's true. Then who knows how long it'll take to get to the upper territories.
Sometimes they're just in Toronto waiting for a week. It's a pretty messy box after that.
The worst part is that some of those like trucks aren't temperature controlled. You might end up with one frozen by the time it gets to you.
Yeah, but if you thaw it out, I mean, she might not be breathing, but it's still perfectly good to
This
use.
This is dark.
What are these monthly girls being used for? Are they just like a porch decoration?
Yeah, like garden gnomes.
Oh,
Cuter. No, so Nozaki-kun is about a cool dude in his school who draws manga for a living, shoujo manga for a living. And we learn about this through the main character who basically confesses, but does so in a way where Nozaki confuses her as a fan and gives her an autograph. And then
and he's absolutely oblivious to her throughout the whole show.
Yep.
Like that's part of the gag.
Spoilers.
It's not even unrequited love. It's just failed attempts over and over to get his attention.
Yeah.
This sounds like something I'd actually want to watch now.
It's
great.
a very charming show. I remember it being a lot of fun. I could definitely see myself watching it again.
The cast of characters too. Like I don't think there's a bad character in that show in terms of enjoyment or
very true. Well, they're all
entertainment.
very unique. Not to spoil too much for you, Cookie, but like there's a character, there's a male character who's a friend who later the joke is revealed that the mangaka Nozaki uses as an inspiration for his like female heroine in his particular manga.
And likewise, the main character Chiyo, one of her best friend is extremely masculine in certain features.
Yeah, they definitely like do some swapping or extremes with messing with gender roles, which is really fun in this. Like they do a good job with it.
Now it sounds like something my wife would want to watch.
It's solid for both of you, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd recommend it to most people.
Like, the worst part about the show is that there's not a season 2 yet. That's basically...
Or a resolution.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'd never expect resolutions to come from manga-inspired or driven, shows to begin with.
Do you ever think to yourself that a concept like this, though, is a little... I'm trying to think of a polite way to say it, but like self-congratulatory, like, oh, look at this super cool manga artist who writes shoujo manga. Let's do a shoujo anime about super cool manga artists who are just too dedicated to their work to notice all the women fawning over them.
Like, I have not looked enough into the mangaka because, and not Nozaki, but the actual mangaka.
Right.
I just started reading his or hers other manga, which precedes this and seems to be like the more focused work because there's definitely more content out and more chapters. It seems to update more regularly. And it's another shoujo, but also like kind of goofy manga that, either guy or girl could read. I guess I started to make I started to think that if the manga artist was a woman, then would it not be self motivated or self praising?
Well, I don't know. I guess. Wait. Maybe I do understand. You're saying if the artist who writes this happens to be a woman, then
yes,
there isn't that way to draw the same kind of like connection or criticism that I was making.
But at the same time, I mean, just because the gender's different, does that necessarily mean that she could still not be... I'm just going to look this up.
Okay, I was going to say, because the other point to be made here is that there's already a lot of characters that are a reversal of what a gender role is. And so it could be totally plausible that it's a woman writing this and... yeah, I guess we should just look it up. I don't see why we should speculate on it.
It is a woman.
It is a woman. Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. And I think that may even lend some credence to why there's some more clever writing with the other like supporting cast's roles.
You could still view it as her congratulating herself on being a professional manga artist and being cool and so forth. But at the same time, there are some points that like Nozaki-kun definitely is self-deprecating in ways that he's not even aware of.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's like he's not even aware that he doesn't actually view himself as that cool, I think. Might be a good way to put it. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too far into it.
No, I think it's part of his character. He is so obsessed with his art form that he's barely even self-aware.
But it's a good show. It's definitely worth checking out. That's all I've been doing, yeah.
Cookie, it's all to you.
Okay. I've been doing a few things. I finished Miss Hokosai. If you turn around, you can see it now. It's an anime movie about a woodblock artist. And I'm really confused as to what's going on. It just shows maybe supernatural things going on. Maybe they're not. Who knows? All in all, could have probably skipped it.
I'm glad you told us about it.
Yep. And I started watching Dad of Light.
Oh, the Final Fantasy XIV commercial TV show, basically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So is it touching?
So far as I've gotten into it, it's pretty much, oh God, what was that anime about the female who's a male character in a video game and doesn't want anybody to know?
Recovery of an MMO junkie or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. Except for now the son is the female character playing with his father.
Do they get married in the game? And then
so far, not quite yet, but I think the father's going to be very emotional with the son while the father thinks it's a female. But, so far it's just been a bunch of gags about like, oh, dad doesn't know how to play video games. It's like...
Wait, does the son know?
The son knows. The son's been setting all this up.
Ah, okay.
Constantly saving his father from dying in this MMO. keeping his father from quitting the game because his father wasn't wearing the same outfits as everyone else.
Wait, his
Helping
father
his
was
dad
getting
name his
self-conscious over
character.
that?
hmm
Hmm.
Lots of things.
I do want to start watching it at some point.
And I started watching Erased, forgetting that I've already seen the anime.
You mean there's a...
Live action.
There's a live
version.
action of it on Netflix.
I'd be curious to watch that, or to see if it's good.
Sierra just finished Erased, like
The live action or the
maybe
anime?
a couple days ago. The animated, not the live action.
She made the right choice.
Is the live action not good?
It's okay, but it's kind of like every other live action to anime. This one's got a little bit higher of a production value, but it's still not quite there.
Right.
Things seem more forced in the live action version than the actual anime.
Higher production value, lower Willem Dafoe ratio. It's tricky to get those balances right.
Yeah.
Wait, Willem Dafoe is in it?
No, there's no
Oh.
Willem Dafoe, and that's why the ratio's lower.
He could have been the culprit. I think that would have worked well.
He could have been the teacher.
Yeah. The good spoiler.
Oh,
Well, but I really do think that this was, or that show, they were making it pretty obvious from the get-go. I don't think the discovery of it really is the driving force behind Erased. I think it's more about the character development, the growth of the character as he gets put into the past and has to, quote unquote, fix things. Like, isn't it pretty obvious from the get-go?
I don't know.
I don't know. It felt like it to me.
I suspected the teacher, and then I thought, no, that seems like such a red herring. And so I ignored the teacher to, of course, later find out that my suspicions were correct, but I rejected my gut sensation. And so I was still shocked when it was revealed. I was like, oh, shit.
Okay, so do you remember the scene where he offers the candy to the boy?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Did you?
What about it?
Did you
I've,
realize
like,
it was
just seen
him
it the other day?
by that scene?
I don't remember the scene.
They're driving back. Why can't I remember his name? Anyway, our main character is riding in the front seat with the teacher, and he happens to see a little bit of trash like sticking out of the glove compartment. He opens it up and a ton of candy falls out, like an obscene amount of candy falls out. And the teacher like immediately says like, you found my secret, and then he just starts like pounding candy. And he's like, ever since I quit smoking, this is the only thing that's helped me curb my addiction. And then he's talking about addictions a little bit more in that conversation, and it seems to hint at something a lot more sinister than just eating candy.
Well, and just the fact that why does a grown man have candy in his car?
Oh yeah,
Like-
that's a little suspicious too. Like he's luring kids with candy. That would be a very like viable suspicion to have for him.
Man,
So-
now that you guys mention all these parts, I kind of want to finish the live action version.
When
I remember the stuffing candy in mouth, and at that point I was like, yeah, it's the teacher. But
It is very charming though that the camera pans away from him or like cuts away from him, and then it cuts back, and instead of having one sucker in his mouth, he now has like 4 or 5 like tail end suckers sticking out of his mouth. Like he's just jammed it with all of the candy he can.
I would almost say that like that is the point of absolute certainty. If not, I'm trying to think of like a more iconic moment beforehand.
Well, he knows some information about like Kaio's situation than he should. I just rewatched this recently, and I remember like seeing some subtle hints that he was aware of what was going on in a way that he'd only be able to if he was like checking up on her, which explains like that's one way to kind of nod at it, is that he's been doing more than just like calling around the house, but actually having information about her not being there when it's not part of the visits that are shown in scenes where he's with like the Japanese equivalent of the Child Protective Services or whatnot.
And I think he might even justify it in fiction as him looking further into like the well-being of his student. But I think
Yeah.
the anime as a whole has so this is part of it, but it's not the entire thing. He and the culprit, quote unquote, are the only two characters to have red eyes as well. So,
But it doesn't show his red eyes until he's already busted. I was watching.
It shows
that
him like more maroonish looking eyes, but they're fucking
or
red.
brown.
It was just a combination of all of these different things that, excuse me, when I was watching Erased, I had known it pretty early on, and like the quote unquote red herrings they kept bringing up with him, where like he would call in the blonde kid to have a private discussion with, and then it turned out, oh, he was planning a birthday party, stuff like that, just felt way weird. Like there was always smoke, and then there was no fire.
No, yeah, he was very intrusive as a teacher.
Yeah.
And I think if you wanted to give him the absolute benefit of the doubt, you thought he was very engaged with his students and like very caring and sharp. But when you start to get suspicions about him, it really does seem like he's poking around for information in as many ways as possible.
Like I think maybe the biggest twist for me in that show was realizing or finding out that one of the boys gets killed as a way to cover up his crime, because like it's only girls he targets until one of the boys gets killed, and they use that as a way to rule the teacher out.
Yeah, that boy Hinazuki looks like a girl.
Yeah.
Like is read as a girl.
And it wasn't so much like the surprise of like, like that's a good cover up, but more just, oh shit, I didn't realize he was one of the victims. Because I don't think they ever tell you exactly who's killed leading up to that point.
Not until they reveal that it is Hinazuki and that it was an intentional choice for him to get picked.
So that was like, oh shit, that's the feels, the hurt. Yeah.
And then something that Neil's actually interested in me to talk about, why I put on our docket, fuck CenturyLink with the rustiest of forks.
Yeah, that's a pretty big... actually, that's not really a big statement, but let's hear why.
So this was just a bad day for me when I put that on the docket. But, so here's kind of what happened. I got my bill from CenturyLink, and I was like, why is this like $100 over what it normally should be? So then I started reading, and I'm like, there's a late fee on here. Why is there a late fee? I've been on autopay for over a year. And then I was like, okay, so $9 late fee. And then it's like unreturned modem. So they charged me $100. So then I ended up trying to call out to them because this is after I get off work. Call center's closed. But they're like, chat 24/7. I'm like, okay. So then I chat out to them on the CenturyLink.com, and it's like, let me look into what's going on in your bill. And I was like, sweet. She's like, well, I see here that you got a late fee and there's an unreturned modem fee. I'm like, cool. Why is there a late fee? I've got autopay. And she's like, did you just recently start autopay? Like, no, I've had autopay since I first started with CenturyLink over a year ago. And she's like, I'm not 100% sure. And I was like, okay, so what about this unreturned modem? She was like, were you supposed to return a modem? I was like, no, I recently had my internet updated and they didn't give me anything to replace the modem with. So they told me just ignore it. They're going to cover the modem fee and everything and it's going to be fine. She's like, cool. I don't know. Call back tomorrow.
And you called back tomorrow?
So I called back the next day. And at this point I had to call while I was at work because their call center's only opened during normal work hours. And I'm like, sweet,
right.
This is super convenient already. Thanks, guys. So called back the next day and they were like, okay, yeah, so I'm seeing this late fee. It turns out once we charged you for the unreturned modem, that was done in the previous billing cycle after the auto pay. So then you got hit with a late fee. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. She's like, yeah, we'll cover that. And I was like, also, never got any other modem, so they told me not to return the modem. blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And they're like, okay, yeah, let's. They had bad notes on here. Bad notes from the previous time I talked with them that literally said, don't charge for modem. We did not drop anything off when we updated things. Don't worry about it.
So they labeled that bad notes then, or the person taking the notes did so poorly?
Apparently the person writing the note of don't charge for modem, nothing should be returned, noted poorly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or, from what I can tell, CenturyLink was quite literally just like, he's on autopay. He never looks at his bill.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell one way or another.
You know what your mistake is, right?
What's that?
Being on autopay?
I was going to say living in the United States where our internet service and cable service providers are giants that can fuck you over at a moment's whim.
But what's the alternative? Because I know Canada has pretty shit internet, or is known to having shit internet.
Estonia. Smaller countries that can have a more centralized internet service provision to their
Japan,
customers
where you
and
carry
consumers.
around like a wallet-sized dongle, and that's just your Wi-Fi hotspot with you at all times.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, and with Japan too, like just thinking of the big cities, I'm sure you can get Wi-Fi almost anywhere.
So let's do it. Japan.
Yeah, let's literally get Wi-Fi covering from sea to shining sea. Like, I need my rural Kansas Wi-Fi when I'm traveling through.
So terrible. Anyway, but
Yeah, I
on
know.
the
It's a joke. I wouldn't travel through Kansas. What's on my way there? Sorry to my friend Charlie who lives in Kansas.
But on the idea of Cookie being angry this week, he also decided once he saw the bell to play a little more Batman, the Telltale series. And he found out quickly that he can't skip the little splash screen that happens when you first turn the game on. It goes like DC Comics and the Batman thing, and it does like, you know how the Marvel movies have the little Marvel thing? DC Comics does the same thing for their Telltale game, at least.
Which this first screen is normal so far.
Yep. But then it goes to a screen that literally gives you the option, press X. And I'm like, okay, sweet. So everything's going to be fine. You press X, loading and connecting to server. Like, why are you not doing that when you give me this unskippable splash screen? At least let me skip the splash screen and then start loading. Nah. And then that night it actually told me, oh yeah, you should sign up for the Telltale thing to get extra bonuses. And I'm like, no, I don't want to sign up for that. Skip it for now. And then it hits me with another loading screen that night. And this is all before I can play the game. That is a single player game. Or a game that you can go through with multiple people online via their phones, but blah, blah, blah. Either way.
Oh, they actually have phone interactions? Like people can vote for your decision? Or
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah, so you can play it with friends and everyone can just vote on, ooh, what are you going to do? You going to go left? You going to go right?
Seems like it could be a Twitch integration thing too. Is that what they're going for?
Possibly, because they're like, yeah, you can live stream it and people can log in and vote for whatever's, which means you can live stream it and make no decisions.
And I think that maybe has some value in it. Like if you have a big Twitch personality playing a game like that.
No, I could see that.
On release. Or, I mean, even after, just to see how how big of assholes you have as viewers. Like, do you want to fuck over this playthrough that's decide to kill this person? Actually, what am I saying? You can't really fuck up anything in a Telltale game, can you?
Correct. But yeah, so it's like very lots of loading screens at the beginning.
So did you get through the first episode or first season?
Through episode 1 and 2.
Okay.
Thinking about probably maybe Wednesday after work I'll go through episode 3. I got the rest of the month.
There's what, 5 episodes?
I don't have the rest of the month. Fuck.
No, it's only the 20th today, right?
Yeah,
Which means 9 days.
Nope, I've got 1 day.
Why's that?
2 days. Nope. Yep, 1 day.
Oh, because it switches?
Dragon Ball Fighters.
Oh, that's right.
And Monster Hunter World.
Wait, Monster Hunter Worlds is the same release day.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
It's a good thing I'm not buying either of those games.
It's a good thing I've already pre-ordered both.
I'm trying to decide which one I invest in.
Yeah, I am super interested in Monster Hunter. It's just that I realize that game's going to be a big time suck, and right now I do not have the time to play it. So I am going to wait for the PC release, and then we'll reevaluate.
I can dig it. Scott, if you get either of those games, get them on PlayStation. We can play together.
And then I'll have to subscribe for PS Plus.
Shit, you're right. Well, we tried.
I'm trying my hardest to not have PS Plus, but the longer this podcast goes on and our friendship blooms, the harder it is to fight that.
I'm just saying, man, $50 in a year, and actually,
That's not terrible. No,
and
that's
actually,
not
it's
bad
been
at all.
on sale. I think it might still be on sale. It's been like $40 everywhere.
Where I'm at in relation to my PlayStation, though, I probably get pretty bad Wi-Fi connectivity. I'm pretty sure that like I'm maxing out the availability of information transfer with just streaming video.
This scrub doesn't have a Wi-Fi relay throughout his house.
This
Yeah,
scrub
I'm
just
sorry, I
hasn't
don't have the Google
hardlined.
Home or whatever alternatives there are.
He just hasn't already just bought a 500-foot spool of just Cat 5 or Cat 6 cable and just ran a cable.
I actually do have probably like 100 feet worth of Cat 6 cable, but I'd have to do some drilling, and I'm not sure anyone's ready for that.
I'm not sure if the family's ready. They need to be ready because at some point, Cat 6 is going to be the connection of choice.
The only drilling I do is in EU4.
See, here I thought you were going to make a joke with Sierra and Risk, but you know, it's what else. And it is no longer on sale on Amazon. It's still $60 for the year.
That's still
too
not
bad.
bad, but
Comparatively to that
the Nintendo one, yeah, no. What is
Nintendo
that?
one,
$20 a year?
$20 a year, maybe. I don't think it's out yet though.
Yeah,
They pushed it back another year. Damn.
so says our silent producer. Have you been doing anything aside from video games, Scott?
Aside from video games, not really. I've been working a lot, so I haven't had too much free time. So the time that I have had available has gone almost directly to gaming. I guess I did get to play some Secret Hitler, which is always a fun time. And actually, the type of gameplay that you get to enjoy out of Secret Hitler is similar to what you get in a little game called Town of Salem, which I know the two of you have played. But did you know that it was actually available on Steam now for $5?
Town of Salem?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't that free on?
Just their
It's
browser.
free if you play
Yeah.
it in a browser version. Steam just gives you like a link through it, and then you get some.
Skins.
Well, you
Get
have
some
the
loot
you have
boxes.
the ability to get like connect your friends through Steam. Like that's an easier way to see if people are playing Town of Salem, and you get some like skins and other cosmetic items. I don't know if you get gold as well as like starting bonus, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to pay $5 if you want to play Town of Salem, that's for sure.
There's also a browser version of Secret Hitler as well, which is free.
Well, yeah, and if you own Tabletop Simulator, that's another great way to do it, which I do, and that's actually how I first started playing that game.
we
do
should
you-
get on that again at
Yeah.
some point.
We need
We
to.
should. Dark Souls was just very difficult, and it was going to be a very long time.
If we're going to play Secret Hitler specifically, though, I would almost recommend we do the browser version of it because it's quite a bit more streamlined and you're not like, hodgepodging around in Tabletop Simulator.
Quite
Okay.
physically having to move things around.
Yeah, the browser one is super streamlined and really, really nifty. I mean, obviously, it doesn't have the charm of being able to flip your table, but that is maybe not always the most conducive thing to playing a game.
But then I
Flipping the
wouldn't be able to
table.
play it in VR with you guys.
Would you have a body in VR then?
No, they don't have a body in the VR. It's just the headset and the two hands.
Okay.
When we were playing Dark Souls, I was in VR.
Were you?
Yeah.
Leaving. Oh, I
It was
don't
I
know if I
remember
was
that.
aware of it.
I think you were. It was a while ago. At least Scott was aware of it.
Yeah, Neil joined us later, I think. That was part of it.
Well, before we talk about games, and speaking of VR, I think we have an email to read this week.
Oh, yes, we do.
Hey, Dave.
So This one comes in from Dave. He has a few sections dedicated to or directed to specific people in this podcast. Scott, is it too soon to return your rat? I like him a lot, but if you're actively playing MOBAs, I'd give it maybe a year until you end up wearing out the RMB, right mouse button, right? When you need another mouse, perhaps consider the G502, cheaper too.
Thank you very much for your concern, Dave. But
We
if
were
you're
just
like
joking.
Neil and sometimes don't listen to what I'm saying, I'm just throwing shade. I actually didn't end up picking up a rat. Although I was tempted, I'm glad I didn't. The mouse that I picked up was a Razer Death Adder Elite, which now that we're streaming video, I can show on screen.
That's actually what I
Ooh.
thought you said too. So when I got this, I was like, what?
Yeah, I was about to say, I
Well,
don't think Dave was paying attention,
that's
especially
okay.
because I was the one who mentioned the rat.
Oh.
Well, and I did bring up, though, to Dave's credit, I did bring up that I was interested in the rat, like, because it's a weird looking mouse, and I kind of like that about it. But the G502 I actually did look at as well when I was going to buy mice, and that was a very highly rated option. I think I just went for the Razer partially because of, I guess, brand recognition. But also, I've used some of my friends' mice before, and they had Razers, and I always really liked the particular like ergonomic shape,
So
even their base models.
I like how you say brand recognition and you go between Razer and Logitech.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize Logitech just fine, but I haven't owned anything by Logitech that's particularly nice. So,
all right, so this is where I show my colors. I thought the rats were just being made by Mad Catz. Like are they not new? Has Mad Catz been making rat mice for a
they've
while?
been making rat mice for quite a while. The rat that we were talking about earlier was actually a wireless version, which is new.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, and that
Hmm.
one's called the Rat Air. So think rat with wings.
Rat hair.
No, Rat Air.
No, I know, but just when you say it together, rat hair.
Okay, whatever
and
whatever
so,
you want.
So the G502 is a Logitech mouse.
Yes, it
Mhm.
is. And it's
Okay.
also a very nice mouse from what I can see.
He goes on to write, Neil, Dead Space definitely has more violent deaths when compared to Tomb Raider's most recent games. Are you sure your aversion to it is not related to the character's gender?
Oh, he just called you sexist.
I am not sure if that... It could be, but I stand by my claim that in Dead Space, like, while, yes, you have cutscenes, specifically in 2 and 3, or maybe it's just 3, where you actually see the protagonist's face and he talks and shit like that. The majority
He's
of
not in a
that...
tank top, so it's less disturbing.
Well, it's just the majority of that game, you're a dude in a suit. Like, you could be a robot. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing that distinguishes you as a human being is that there is blood, and you see a little bit of gore when you get killed. Whereas
You see a lot of gore when you get
a
killed.
lot
Neil.
of gore, but it's like, what's the game? Metal Gear Rising, for instance. You're destroying a shit ton of androids and robots, yet they also have guts. Like, I am less bothered by watching Metal Gear. I guess they're all also men. Shit. Yeah.
Someone's been busted.
Maybe there's like some sort of like, maybe it's something on the subconscious level, but I just don't necessarily attach as much feelings to a dude that's almost always covered up in a spacesuit. That's where I draw the line, I guess.
So if John Halo is in his boxer shorts fighting off the flood, then all of a sudden it gets a lot more real for you.
If John Halo constantly had his helmet off, or like if he was not wearing clunky ass armor constantly, I think that would allow me to become a little more concerned, not for his character, but just for the fleshy parts.
So the last question is, if Samus Aran got like ripped in half, you're totally fine with that.
I mean, I like me specifically, probably because I don't pay enough attention to Samus Aran in Zero Suit version or whatever it is when you actually see her as a person more. You know what I mean?
When you see her as a person and not as a badass killing machine.
not as a war machine. No.
Oh, you absolutely do realize your vulnerability. I feel like they do a really good job with those games. On a very quick side note, like when you play Zero Suit Samus, you're always like, I really need to get right back into that suit as soon as possible.
Right. Whereas my exposure to Metroid is Metroid, Metroid 2, Return of Samus, and Super Metroid. So it's like
Exactly. Always in a suit.
despite the ending, it's still I'm controlling a suit as opposed to a person in a suit, if that makes sense.
So it's all about the person, not the suit.
Yeah, I don't fucking care about like some equipment getting destroyed and then seeing some guts. Like if I've grown to appreciate and recognize that there is a human being inside of that suit on a greater level than the suit having personality. Does that make sense? Because it's like,
Yeah, so Call of Duty is really traumatic for you.
I have not played any of the Call of Duty single players, so I don't really know.
For good,
okay.
For good reason.
If you see something like traumatic happening to yourself in a first-person game, it doesn't really make me feel that nauseous or concerned.
Oh, actually, you know what? I've got a great one to really test. Test this theory on you, Neil. How do you feel about Resident Evil deaths? Let's say
Resident Evil 7 specifically?
Let's say I don't know what the deaths in Resident Evil 7 are like, but let's say Resident Evil 4, where you have Leon in your third-person mode, and you can get some pretty gruesome deaths.
A lot of them aren't that bad in 4. I didn't really think.
Okay, I don't know if I'm going to make any ground on this then.
The email continues. Cookie, hello, I'm glad. You're glad. I'm still listening.
Still glad.
Which and finally, Ramen. Did I make this joke already?
No.
Nope,
so
this is a new one.
So what's everyone's opinion on the current state of VR? There are more and more videos of hands-on impressions of the Pimax, headset, and the Vive Pro is apparently further reducing the screen door effect, as well as adding wireless connectivity. How much more likely are you to adopt the next generation of VR? How low would prices need to drop for you to be interested in the old hardware, Dave?
I can answer this first, being the cheapest out of all of us and probably the least interested in VR for now. Until I've got a bodysuit I can put on, I'm probably gonna pass on most of the hardware.
Okay, how likely would it be that we actually get like a bodysuit version of VR as opposed to just jacking your consciousness into a game?
Well, I'm going to bet that technology will not move as fast in interpreting like signals from the brain as quickly as we'll be able to make a cheap bodysuit that operates upon sensors on your body. Partially because we already have the technology I'm talking about and looking forward to.
But do you think anyone's really actually going to go through that trouble of having a full body, like VR bodysuit?
I want the bodysuit even more than the VR experience. So
would you be happy?
You're asking the wrong person.
So instead of a full bodysuit, would you just be happy with a couple of HTC trackers on like your knees, elbows, wrists?
Yeah, I'd
hands?
be totally cool with that. I'm imagining, and when I say bodysuit, I guess I should clarify. Like I'm imagining when we get to the point where it can track most of the motions on my body, either via a camera that's observing me or through like points and accelerometers that are added to like critical joints and motion points on my body. That sounds good to me. Like that's when I'll be really interested in this technology. Until then,
so what's the price?
I like to play around with it and try it out, but I won't be investing in it with my personal finances anytime soon.
So what's the price?
That's a good question. Yeah, because it'll be probably prohibitively expensive when it first comes out as well.
I mean, like the technology exists and maybe not the right performance when you consider motion capturing, because that's what you basically need, a motion capture suit. When
exactly,
you said like
and I don't have a Hollywood
suit,
budget, so I can't do that yet.
When you said full bodysuit, I thought you were referring to like something that would also give you sense and feel. Like if you picked up a jar or a vase
like haptic
or something.
feedback?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
It would be amazing, but I can maybe see this existing in some prototype form, but I don't think that would ever become like a commercially viable product.
No, because if you're playing Mortal Kombat VR and Johnny Cage unleashes that like nut cracking move on you, you're not playing video games again. You're calling it quits.
Is the HTC Vive really still $600?
I haven't checked prices.
I just Googled it.
I don't know if the Pro is available yet. So
the
I don't
Pro's
know.
not available yet.
I don't know if I mean I guess there's no guarantee that they're even going to drop the price once the Pro comes out, because the Pro could just be a more expensive unit.
So with what Scott's talking about, if he could buy this today, so it's $600 for the Vive. These trackers are $150 each. They're already out. Oh, a Hyper Blaster with a tracker is $150. So I don't know how much the tracker is by itself. I believe there's at least 2 games out that require you to put 2 trackers on your feet, and it actually does a really good job of figuring out where your knees should be. We still don't got anything for elbows yet, unfortunately.
What about for the one person in the world that is not backpedal? And
Is there a person that's back by pedal?
I mean, you know the internet rule. If you can imagine it, it exists, right? So there's
Touche.
someone with raptor legs out there that's going to be really lit down by
So let's see. So we'll call it about $1,000 right now for what you're looking for, Scott.
probably more than you could just tape the HTC controllers to your different body parts.
But it only works with 2 controllers right now.
Well, I mean,
So you've
I
gotta
don't
use the
think it would
trackers.
be that unrealistic to have firmware improvements to
Allow more, since they've just done the firmware improvement to allow more than 2 trackers on the walls. So Scott, what's your price? Man, I'm surprised these things are still $600. I thought they were cheaper.
My
than that
price
now.
is low. The problem is that either it needs to get cheaper or I need to get richer. Like it's not something that I could reasonably afford within my budget and then expect to buy games with it right now. So that's one of the biggest limiting factors. If I get the hardware, I don't know if I can budget for actually any games or entertainment relevant to the hardware. So
personally, I think I'm more interested in seated VR experiences, and the only thing that's actually catering to that, aside from the
Racing.
more, excuse me, besides like the more affordable options, would be the PlayStation VR, which conveniently seems to have like the most budget when it comes to games involved. But if that were to go down to like $150 or so, I think I would be likely to pick it up. But I don't really see myself getting anything. It doesn't seem like there's any new crazy thing happening in VR right now. It's just resolutions are up.
Yeah.
I did look up the Pimax thing beforehand, and they
8K.
said 8K, but it's not 8K. It's just 2 4K displays.
Shh.
Like that doesn't fucking make it 8K. I mean,
It equals more around 6 at that point, but you know.
isn't it technically if you were to combine those 2 4K displays together, wouldn't that be just ultra widescreen 4K?
Probably. Yeah.
Are you interested in the Pimax or Vive Pro?
No, and kind of. So Pimax, no, not really. I don't care that much about the resolution of display like the Vive itself.
Or the ultra wide field of view?
Yeah. So the Vive itself, its main issue is that it's not as comfortable. But I don't get motion sick when I'm actually playing any games on it. So the beefed up resolution, I don't really care enough to read
Sure.
text in a racing game. So that doesn't really make much of a difference for me. And for me to buy the 3rd headset, I'd want the Rift to go to $150 for me to be interested in more of the old hardware. And why I would be interested in buying the Vive Pro is because apparently they've taken a lot better care of the ergonomics of how it fits on your head, so that would make Lizzie more apt to be accepting of it. So pretty cheap, and I'll wait for 3rd generation. You got to skip a generation every time for
Just
right now.
like CPU processors? I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me.
would you like to talk about games?
Yeah, let's talk about some games. Scott, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I played a little Town of Salem, but since it's not particularly topical, I might pass on that. It's no different from the browser version of the game, I should note. So anybody who does pay the $5 on Steam You're pretty much just paying for a very minor convenience on it. Otherwise, I've been dedicating all my time to Civ 6, getting to play more of that game. I tried a couple different leaders of civilizations and map modes. And
Did you play as the Kree?
no, I did not play as the Kree. I actually don't have that particular expansion. So I've tried playing as one of the more I've had a map set up where it's more of the ancient civilizations on a like randomized continental map mode. And then I had like a true world set up where I played as the United States, where you start with your like true world location. So in both of those, I've been isolated from other countries somewhat. I had Brazil to deal with when I was playing as the United States, and I've progressed technologically to be able to like cross the ocean and explore. So I've actually colonized Japan and made that an American city. But what I've noticed playing with, and I don't know if this is true for the very high level AIs because I'm not good enough at Civ to play at those really high levels, but playing it at the like more average difficulties, like 4 or 5, I found that the AI can be incredibly. There's just some things that strike me as being quite odd for those types of games, like being in the medieval era, but being friends with China enough to help them research robotics while I'm still building a castle. Like, it's just one of those things that I find very funny that we have a research agreement and I'm so technologically far behind that it doesn't make sense that I'd have any contributing information towards that.
Rock, good. Here, robot, make.
Yeah, it's like they're going to provide the circuits and I'll provide the rocks that they can like attach them to and motorize. So that's an interesting concept that it kind of breaks some of the realism or immersion of it. One of the other things that I've encountered is that I think when it comes to combat, sometimes the AI is just a little unrealistic in its expectations. I've had war declared on me by most every other nation in my like ancient nations continental playthrough, and none of us have the technology to cross the ocean yet. And I'm isolated on a peninsula with some city-states, or not peninsula. Sorry, I have most of the continent mapped out at this point. But although some of my towns are coastal, for the most part, my capital is land, like in the center of the landmass, and there's no way for their troops to get over to me. So I just see galleys swim by, and then because one galley versus an entire town that's fortified with multiple units and galleys, I can only imagine that their armies are just standing at the shore, like rattling their spears, waiting for the technology to cross the ocean. And we've been in a war for like 200 turns. We can resolve with a white peace, but I don't see what the point of them even declaring the war was in the first place. Like, there's very little logic to why they declared it either. They're like, "Oh, we hate your nation because you're weak and small," and I'm like, "Fantastic, that's very kind of you." You still can't do anything about it.
Do your people get mad over being in a war for that long?
My people aren't unhappy. We haven't lost any. Like, there's been no casualties on my side. The war is pretty much something that I don't even think about until I see an enemy unit like sail along the coast, and then I realize that, oh yeah, if they get near one of my towns, I can attack them. Like, I'm mostly just treating them as like roaming barbarians at this point. So the AI is a little weird, and they have just initiated, wars and trades and other sorts of diplomatic interactions that are not. They strike me that at an average difficulty, they shouldn't be either so nonsensical or so much in my favor. Like, they're very easy to renegotiate their terms in which they offer something that I want and they want something of mine that I don't want to give, so I just offer more gold. Like, so far I've been able to satisfy almost all my problems as the United States by just offering more money up, which, I mean, that's a fairly realistic strategy.
Yeah, might be realistic there.
It's a little it's a little absurd that if the thing that they really wanted gets taken off the table and I just add like an extra 100 gold to it, that all of a sudden that's satisfying for them. So I will probably, against my better judgment, try some more difficult Civ AI in the next round and see how exploitable or just irrational some of their mechanics are. In the realm of Super Metroid, this is like I'm so happy I'm finally getting to play this game. This is one of the best side-scrolling Metroids I've ever played. The progression of the items is a little surprising, and I've really enjoyed that. I got the ice beam a lot earlier than I expected, and I haven't gotten a wave beam. I don't even know if there is a wave beam option in this game, so that's cool. The environments are interesting, and the game's still very pretty for being as old as it is. And there's some things that they added to it that I just thought were really innovative for like the time that this game actually released at. The idea of an X-ray visor that you can use to like look through the map and see what kind of objects are susceptible to shooting with your beam or a power bomb is really neat, and it allows them a lot of options with creating hidden areas that aren't impossible to discover without just poking at or jumping through walls all the time. And one of my favorite moments coming from this game is there's actually a moment where you fight one of the bosses and it falls into a pit of lava and all of its like skin and flesh is melted off and it sinks into the lava, so you think it's over. But when you navigate to the back of the room, it bursts back through like on fire in its skeletal form. And I was like, holy shit, a second stage boss fight. It caught me off guard and I kind of panicked. And then it just collapses in front of you and drops all the items and creates a new pathway. It was just one of those things in which I thought, for a game that has zero dialogue or anything, they're still able to do a lot with progressing the story in like an interesting and engaging way that's beyond just having environmental context or cues. I have to say, just if there's an opportunity to play this game and you like a Metroid game, it is one of the best ones I've ever played. It harkens back to all the things I like about playing games like Zero Mission or Fusion.
It's almost like it spawned its own genre.
Yeah, it absolutely did spawn its own genre. And what's really surprising about it, though, is the fact that this game is so good in comparison to later iterations. Normally, you expect a franchise to be improved upon gradually, and so each one gets better and better. And I keep thinking, like, Super Metroid sets this precedent that's so high that I think, like, its other games have to work within that framework, but they just can't replicate it. Like, it really does come off as a game that I can only imagine was before its time when it was released, and was made so exceptionally well that it still holds up as a very entertaining experience today. I would rather play Super Metroid than the most recent release for the DS, which is like Return of Samus.
I've heard a lot of bad things about that DS remake. Or
yeah, it's
that Metroid 2 remake.
It's a remake of Metroid 2, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
There's a better version of a Metroid 2 remake / sequel that has been developed not by Nintendo that you can find around the internet. I cannot remember the name of it. I will try and come up with it next time. I've got it on my computer.
It got canned, supposedly.
Yeah, well, and
yes,
then
a version of it exists.
Yeah, another version of it exists, and it is something that you can play in an emulator on your computer, and it is exceptionally good. That is also a very fun game and a great recreation of Metroid 2. That's it for my games so far. I've played a little Breath of the Wild, and I think that game was surprising how much I enjoyed getting back into it after being out of it for a while. I think it exceeded my expectations in not necessarily replayability because I haven't finished it, but it's very, very easy to pick up even after quite a while of not playing that game.
Well, Cookie, what have you been playing?
So I mentioned I finished episode 2 of Batman and going to episode 3. But besides that, I've been playing a little more Vermintide on the PlayStation 4. this game doesn't tell you anything, really. So I've kind of just been doing a lot of Googling and YouTubing about kind of how and where to get started. And I've also found that it's much better to create your own private games and inviting some friends rather than having randos with you, because they tend to go off on their own. And that just ruins it for everyone, because this game's about sticking together. I really like it so far, actually. I'm sad I didn't pick it up earlier. And also, me and Neil started off, can I say this? Yeah, fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah, it's fine. Danganronpa
Yep.
2. Super Danganronpa 2, I guess, is the official name for it.
Really?
Super Danganronpa 2 is the Japanese name for Danganronpa 2. Super Danganronpa 2.
That's good to know. So yeah, so we started, which will be up eventually, playthrough of Super Danganronpa 2. We've experienced our first death, and who knew that I could have bunny waifus, but waifu's always dying.
Oh, that's what you're referring to as the first death. I was like, we haven't even gotten to the first murder
Case.
yet. What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, yes. Yeah. I forgot how long that opening intro is, because at this point we just now have Monokuma and his whole spiel. So now it's like, oh wait, now we have to go through another intro.
Yep.
It's not as long, mind you, but like that
Took a lot longer than expected.
I mean, something tells me that maybe they were trying to fool people, because they're known for fooling people in their like pre-release advertisements. Not really spoilers. Once you beat the game, there is a version where you play the game and Monokuma does not get his way, so it becomes just a dating sim.
Nice.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little flimsy on its own.
Hope shards.
Hope shards.
Oh, fragments.
Hope fragments. But I think in the first game, you know how the first murder in the first game is the pop star, right?
Yeah, and she just happened to be setting you up for the okie doke.
Yeah,
and then gets killed in the process. And
So the first demo for the first Danganronpa actually has Hagakure, the fortune teller, getting murdered in your bathroom. So if you had played the demo, you would have been like, okay, so that's like this guy dies here, okay, and it's this guy who does it. And then you start playing the real game, you go through this chapter, you're like, this is going to be the same thing, that sucks, oh well. And then you find her dead, then it's like, wait, what the fuck happened?
No, I need to focus.
Right, exactly. So
that's actually a really good idea.
They've been known for doing things like that, so maybe, and I can't really say though, because I didn't really follow up with the release of Danganronpa 2. Maybe they were trying to push this game off as just a visual novel dating sim instead. I don't know, but TLDR, the intro is really long and misleading. But
yeah, that's about all I've been playing this week. Oh, and I've been also slowly getting back to COD.
Which has a new update, I hear.
Not quite yet, but it's getting one. Which also kind of pisses me off that all these games are coming out. But the exciting news about the COD update is if you don't have the season pass, it's completely free. It comes with a new division, which is going to be kind of like your classes that you can choose from. They're the Resistance division. There's going to be a full event going on about it, so they're giving out Resistance care packages once a week. So just log in and you'll get a free care package. And Prop Hunt is coming officially to it for this for the event that's going on. And for those who don't know what Prop Hunt is, it's a popular version. It's a popular mod on Gary's mod of old Call of Duty games where you can quite literally turn into a item that's in the game. And one team is hunting down items. If you survive, you win. If the team kills you, kills the other team, they win.
So you might go into like a room full of chairs or like, let's say a cafeteria, and you as a prop may hide as a fork or a glass, and the team that is hunting you out needs to basically go in and look for things that don't belong. So it's a lot of like memorization of what maps look like beforehand, and then looking for the
thing that doesn't quite fit.
Yeah, looking for the thing that is extra. And it gets especially enjoyable to watch because this is like a spectator thing that I think was made popular a lot by Twitch as well.
Yeah.
It's especially funny because you can move as the prop. I'm assuming they're going to keep it pretty faithful to the original
Hopefully.
prop. Huh? So when you have a moving like inanimate object like a chair
Or a bucket.
yeah,
Or a bucket.
it's pretty hilarious.
I think in the actual Resistance commercial, like just the last scene was this guy running past something and a bucket turns. As he runs past it, it's like the bucket goes, "Da-da."
Oh man, that should be a lot of fun.
But yeah, so I'm excited that they're actually doing that as a free update rather than, oh yeah, you had to have bought the season pass. This is the first little bit of DLC that we're giving out for it. They're like, no, this is free. Take it.
You do have to pay for the gold bucket skin though, or the 420 box.
Nice. But yeah, so I'm excited about the Call of Duty update. It's bringing me back. I see here that you haven't played any video games, Neil.
Yeah, no, I haven't played anything to the extent where I want to talk about them quite yet.
So basically,
That'll
Metal
happen
Gear,
next week.
Metal Gear
That's very
Survival.
responsible of you.
Yes,
Neil.
I've been playing a lot of Metal Gear Survival. It's going to be my game of 2018, game of the year.
No, I did hear from Matt that he played a little bit of Metal Gear Survival and said that.
He's gonna like
Well,
it.
it was
bet,
funny
just to be
because I got a
ironic.
text message saying that he was going to try it out, and then when I texted him to ask, like, oh yeah, really? He was like, I already quit.
Oh, sweet. So he probably played just as much as Metal Gear Survival as I did.
Yeah, he was like, I started it. I only had 21 shots in my pistol, so I was like, building a fence doesn't really do me much good. I stabbed some things with my spears. It wasn't fun. I quit.
He had a pistol?
Cookie didn't have a pistol. I
Yeah.
think it's because he chose a woman. Obviously, women in Metal Gear Survive do not have guns. Don't
Yeah,
correct me.
and Neil can't play as women, so he doesn't have that handicap.
That's why I can't play Tomb Raider, apparently. We may as well talk about Street Fighter 5 Arcade
damn it.
Edition.
And I did turn that back on the other day, and I was like,
and you're like, oh, this is sexy, Neil. As in the UI, I guess. That was one of the big things they changed, right?
yeah, so the UI changed quite a bit, actually. They've opened up some more things. I actually started playing a little bit of the arcade mode, but I was using Sakura, so I didn't know how to do much of anything.
Has your move list changed a lot?
Sakura? No.
Okay.
But I'm expecting like what her bread and butter combos used to be
Right.
are no
okay.
longer. Speaking of Street Fighter, I need to buy it again for Switch. Because the 35th anniversary edition's coming out on Switch, and it's coming with everything.
Everything except things they have recently made or things that already exist. But this is coming with another version of Third Strike as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which is kind of what I'm super excited
like everyone's cup of tea, it seems like. Everyone really loves Third Strike.
about. It's Third Strike and Alpha 2 are my
Yeah.
two games.
I can get behind Alpha 2. I think that's maybe my favorite Street Fighter.
That is my favorite
So.
Street Fighter. So yeah, so I'm like super excited about that. So I need to buy this game again.
Did you hear about the SNK heroin fighter game?
I did.
I only
don't-
looked at it a little bit and I was like, oh, let's be real. I'm not going to play another SNK fighter. I didn't play King of Fighters, so apparently they're dead to me.
I was about to say, if you ever want to play King of Fighters, I have it here. It's King of Fighters.
It's just that like fighters are a time commitment, and by the nature of wanting to be good at fighters means spending a lot of time developing that muscle memory again.
Wait, no, SNK Heroines didn't have that other fighting game that's coming out that's got all the characters from Persona.
No, that's Cross Tag Battle or something, which I have not heard good things about.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really felt a whole lot of excitement for that particular title.
Unfortunately, because they got Ruby in there though.
Yeah,
But oh
Ruby.
well.
And but I mean, I don't know. Like
Eh.
for people that are sad about that maybe not doing as well, they're going to have Persona 5 Arena at some point this year.
Wait,
or
they
maybe
announced
next
that?
year. It hasn't been determined or officially
I
announced,
will play that.
but I'm assuming it will be out sometime this
Because
year.
Persona 4 Arena.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Oh,
But yeah, Monster Hunter and DBZ are coming out this week, right?
correct.
This week,
Tuesday.
yeah. And
And I don't know what to do, man. I enjoyed both of those demos thoroughly, the betas thoroughly, and I was like, okay, good. I don't remember which game comes out in like 7 months, but one game says I can download it in like 200 days, and one game says I can download it in like 3.
so as a result, you have two games that are like kind of time dependent because like Fighters, if you want to be competitive,
You've got to play,
yeah, you need to play. And Monster Hunter is a grind.
period. So I think DBZ is going to take more of a backseat to Monster Hunter for me, specifically because I kind of have the combat system of DBZ down enough, and the fighting mechanics aren't as deep-ish as like say a Street Fighter, where you've got the quarter circle characters, charge characters, blah blah blah. These are all, they've got the same move sets, they just do different things and have different attributes about them.
So the muscle memory, the actual mechanics don't change from character to character, but their style changes.
Yeah, so like what the thing does. So whereas some characters, their quarter circle forward circle is going to be Android 18, hers is a grab in the beta, versus quarter circle forward circle for Goku's Kamehameha.
It's just a Kamehameha. Like, how do they treat it so lightly?
Because it's not a big Kamehameha, it's just a normal Kamehameha.
There is no normal Kamehameha. Okay.
But yeah, so I'm like super stoked for Dragon Ball Z Fighters, but it does seem a little bit simpler than a lot of my fighting games that I play, so it may take a little more of a backseat. What is your thoughts on Street Super Dragon Ball Z?
Dragon Balls Fighters. Are you excited for it, Scott?
Oh yeah, I am totally fine with a simpler fighter. Those are the ones I excel at. The closer I can get to just chaining together like simple combos and actions that I feel like work for me, or that feel fluid, is about the level of detail I get out of fighters. So I don't get into like really trying to figure out a meta strategy of how to like best maximize my impacts or counter things. Like I just like to pretty much like duke it out with whoever else is willing to play casually. So
I can dig it. Well,
That's-
this is
totally up my alley. And like quarter rotations, half rotations, things like that, I have a really hard time actually executing those very reliably. And so I'm also totally fine with them taking a back seat on a control scheme.
Why do we both look at each other when he expressed that difficulty? It's not funny, Cookie.
Why? What? Do you think it's
sorry.
easy?
Are you ever going to be able to pull off the Phoenix dance in Final Fantasy VI? That's my question. It's, I think,
Oh,
a
no.
right direction half circle. One of Saban's or Mosh, if
So a
you're
quarter
playing the
circle
Japanese
back?
version. What's that?
quarter circle back.
Oh, no, half circle back, I think.
Half circle back.
When I say back, it's like, in what relation are we talking? Because I would normally think, whenever I talk about characters, I'm talking about them on the left side of the screen usually, since that's player one. But
Okay,
in Final
so-
Fantasy, everything is on the right side of the screen. So I guess it would be quarter circle forward or back?
Am
I
I
don't
going
know.
in
Well,
relation?
your back is facing back from where your characters are facing.
Correct.
Well, all right, you know what? It's too confusing. I just wanted to say that Saban, his strongest blitz move, I think, is a full circle. So
Those are always annoying.
my condolences, Scott. You might not be able to use his. I think it's called. No, is it Bum Rush? I don't fucking remember.
Either way, it's kind of weird that you can't reliably throw a fireball, Scott.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
Oh man, that's sad.
But it's
He's
okay.
mean to someone for no reason.
You
at
know,
all.
at least the suplex is easy to do. It's X Y down up. I think X Y down up or Y X down up. I can't remember. It's something like that. But I don't mean to derail us and talk about Final Fantasy VI yet again in this podcast. Nintendo Labo. I'll be honest, I have no idea what the fuck this is. So guys, please enlighten me on this current event / product.
Well, following the theme of Nintendo's arts and crafts kind of aesthetic that they've been building since the
Yarn Adventures and Paper
I
Mario.
guess the Wii, since we got well, even before that, I guess Yoshi's Story probably first started that design aesthetic. Then we got Kirby's Epic Yarn and all these other games with that similar arts and crafts style. Nintendo Labo is a fancy way to say Nintendo Cardboard. It is going to be different like cardboard sets that you can use in order to create physical objects that will interact with programs on your Switch that will allow you to do things like a fishing game or pretend to be a robot or create a piano. And so it's very similar to like a lot of the STEM toys that already exist in the market, except it's going to be expensive cardboard kits that look cool and have an inspiring commercial.
See, you've got that theory that everyone else has been like spouting, expensive cardboard kit. I've been saying it as, dude, you're buying a full price video game, and then they're giving you cardboard on top of it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Looking at the physical price of cardboard is probably not
Let's remember how much 1-2 Switch cost.
a good way to characterize it. Yeah, and I think Neil's making a great point too. Like, you can charge a full video game price for something that maybe doesn't necessarily fit the same amount of entertainment in that product. I think what's really cool about it is the idea that it's very very interactive, and it's occupying gaming in a much more physical space, which Nintendo has always been exceptional at.
And can
the thing that I have concerns about is also, I was a little let down after seeing the trailer, realizing that these were kits that you were building and not that it was going to be, and I don't know why my brain immediately jumped to it, but I thought, wow, this is crazy. Nintendo's going to give you the opportunity to like make your own items and essentially like craft games for yourself. I didn't realize that they were selling you the package of cardboard until I looked into it more. So when I first saw it with my sleep deprived brain the other night, I was thinking, holy cow, I can make a fishing game or like design that with my household materials.
Who knows? They might actually let you make your own things, because it seems like it's going to be it seems like it's going to be a pretty open thing.
I mean, you could theoretically 3D print things that would work for these games. If you want to do your fishing game, you could 3D print your own like ergonomically designed fishing handle and rod.
I will 3D print my own ergonomic handle and rod.
Joy-Con into. Yeah, exactly. So I think that is very cool, but I want to learn a lot more about this before I actually try and buy anything. If I want to do a keyboard, like, why don't not keyboard, I'm sorry, a piano, why do I buy the cardboard piano kit when there are other available options in the market of like STEM toys in which I can create my own keyboard, and I can do it with bananas or something else, you know?
But this keyboard comes with the fishing rod and the motorcycle game and all the other things.
That's true, but the price point might be different as well. Like, they're
about the same price.
Really?
If you've already got the Switch. I think the Makey right now, I'm Googling it because I was looking into it, because like one of the Makeys is like $30, but the other one's like $50. Yeah, so you can get the controller for $20 at Walmart, and the like official Makey is like $50 at a couple of different places. So about the same, but you know, 2 in one basket, 6 in the other.
Yeah. All in all, if you're a parent, it's a cool thing for.
Or if you're a child at heart, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I don't think I'll be buying it when it first comes out, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the full concept of it.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement that we're hopeful that they put more, that they continue to focus on things like this that are really outside the realm of just creating a game that you can play on a mobile platform, but instead using the portability and I guess like modular capacity of the Switch to really create some very unique and currently like unsubstitutable experiences with their gaming. Like
But
there isn't really another option for this besides getting into the VR scene. And there's certainly a lot cheaper option to do your kit with your like VR fishing versus your cardboard fishing and keyboard and all the other things bundled into that package.
So just to play devil's advocate here, is that really what would make the most sense from a financial standpoint? Because it certainly seems like what is making the Switch a success, one could say the most successful console since peanut butter and jelly or whatever, is maybe not so much the innovations in their platform, because at the end of the day, this is just a more break apartable PlayStation Vita with a larger screen, is the availability of all of these titles on one console.
Yeah.
Like it is 1-2 Switch, which is to date, that and Snipper Clippers like are the best games to actually show what the Switch can do from a technological standpoint. Are those games really the console sellers?
No.
It's like Mario Odyssey, it's Breath of the Wild, it's the Nintendo standards at which are leading the Switch
Greatness.
to yeah, exactly. It's the fact that we're also now getting things that people that would otherwise not have consoles or gaming PCs, like, I mean, again, we joke about Skyrim, but I'm sure a bunch of people are like, oh shit, now I can buy Skyrim because I haven't had a console since the Wii.
Right, and Skyrim on the go is going to be easier with a Switch than running your laptop and having like a controller to plug in or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's just my like contrarian, like my
like what's the point
knee-jerk
of
reaction of like, hold on a second here, is this really like a good venture? I like they should venture out and try and use as much of their technology, but part of me wonders if this will really like get a grasp beyond that of the children at heart, as Cookie puts it, or like the children audience, the younger audience.
Yeah, the younger audience. I'm always a proponent of being like skeptical and cautious about anything, especially when it's a consumer product. I just think that one of the things that I've always really respected and enjoyed about Nintendo, even if I haven't bought into it necessarily, is that starting from the Wii, they've worked really hard to have their games, I guess, emerge from being exclusively in the digital space. Whether it was the like little Wii Fit mat that you could use for yoga, or Wii Sports was a great example of just like using the nunchuck and remote and the Wiimote in a variety of different ways to be more like kinetically involved and active with your games. Like those were the very first steps that actually put us into interacting with VR in a casual sense. That's not without a headset. That's just by having like more motion in your game than utilizing a controller.
So to get off of my devil's advocate soapbox for a second, like what I actually would really say is that this is kind of cool because this is a direct, I guess, influence of their whole like goal of making people more active, of improving the quality of life of their consumers.
Yeah, truly.
One really good thing that I feel about like Nintendo's Labs,
whatever it is
they're doing things with their hardware that no one's actually trying to do with their hardware. So like the piano itself is using the IR sensor on the left Joy-Con, right Joy-Con, to actually physically see which keys are being pushed down. Whereas no one's actually ever doing that. No one thought about the Switch having the Wii functionality of using the Joy-Con as a pointer.
Right.
Until the Amazing Pizza Machine? I forget what that game is called already. A series of games came out. Oh God, what is that game called? It's something Human Inc., Advanced Inc., Amazing Pizza Machine Inc., and there's also the Little Inferno that came out and World of Goo. There were games that were already on the iPad and things. but then you could actually use the Joy-Con as a pointer because you're like, oh yeah, I guess this does have an IR sensor, and I guess the pointer doesn't have anything to do with the IR sensor. The pointer has more to do with gyros and whatnot. But either way, I think this is really cool that they're using the technology in like really weird ways. Especially the HD rumble feature turns a piece of cardboard into a remote control car, more or less.
It's cool.
I'm actually excited about Mario Tennis.
Oh yeah, Mario Aces.
Yeah.
I just like, okay, here's my thing about Mario Tennis, all right? Like, tennis was already perfected in 2 forms in the past.
Are you talking about Snoopy Tennis?
Snoopy Tennis? What?
Yeah, man, the Peanuts had a tennis game.
All right, so maybe 3 times. I haven't played that. The first time, though, for the Super Nintendo on Super Tennis, which it's fucking great. It's awesome. And then the second time with Virtual Tennis on the Dreamcast. There's no point to making more tennis games, but you know what hasn't been perfected yet? Mario Golf. I know there's a version that exists, but
I was about to say, it's an amazing game.
it's awesome. I love heckling people as Yoshi. But like, we need to see that. Like, of all the sports Mario games that could have been remade or whatever, or created for ones that don't exist, Mario Golf should have been it. Like, Mario Tennis was the last thing I wanted.
Mario Tennis was actually the first thing I wanted.
Yeah, I'm really big on Mario Tennis too. Like, that is one of my favorite games from the 64.
I apologize that you guys have bad tastes. Bad taste. Especially now when the golf market is so hot and huge. We need a replacement for Tiger Woods, and we have it right here, Mario. What better ambassador to get people into your sport than Mario?
Is golf really huge right now?
No, and that's why Mario needs to get into it. I know I just presented 2 different arguments at one point, but Mario Golf needs to happen.
They'll bring it back eventually, Neil.
I kind of don't think so.
Really, I'm hoping that when we get Mario Tennis Aces, that the Joy-Con will be a really viable option for playing the game. Like, that's what I'm most excited about.
So far, the Joy-Con's been a really viable option for playing every game on the Switch.
Exactly. But I'm talking about, say, with the Joy-Con, having my left-handed Joy-Con and my right-handed Joy-Con, and so for my serve, I get to toss up my left Joy-Con. Well, not toss the Joy-Con itself, but provide the momentum on my Joy-Con upward for my throw, and then actually have the motion of my
throwing out your
Joy-Con
shoulder
coming
as you
into that to serve. Like, that would be so cool to be able to do a full serve in that game.
You could on the Vive.
I'm thrilled as a tennis player. Like, I would absolutely love to see them utilize it in a way that is, I don't know, that is a little more detail oriented than, say, Wii Tennis, where you're just wiggling the controller back and forth.
Did you already cover most of the COD update, or is there anything else you want to cover on that?
I think I said we've got new guy, new class systems coming out. Prop hunt. I guess they brought back demolition, but I don't really care about that.
Okay.
Prop hunt and new things, free stuff. Yeah, that's about that. Monster Hunter World's going to be a time suck, and Scott, if it makes you feel any better, summoning Shenron during a match of Dragon Ball Z fighters is super simple. You do the square combo a lot to get Dragon Balls, and as long as you're fully powered up, you do the square combo again, and bam, you summon Shenron. So simple game for you.
Good, that's all I need, right? I just have to wish that I win the match.
Yeah, you can wish for immortality or to bring back one of your characters. I don't know what immortality actually does for you, though, so.
Makes you invincible.
Because
you
no one
lose the
has
game.
wished for immortality in the Dragon Ball universe yet. I don't know if
They've
that's
tried.
true.
I think someone has. I don't know.
That's people's goals.
Oh, speaking of the Dragon Ball universe, did you watch an episode
you know what? Actually,
of
Dragon Ball Super, technically, doesn't Goku Black get immortality?
He does.
Is Goku Black
That's right.
Goku? Is it the same person?
Technically.
But do
It's
do
Goku's
multiple versions
body.
of Goku exist?
Technically.
Wait. It's too complicated and it's really not that important. But Goku Black is not Goku as we know it, or
But
as we
it's-
know him.
It's
but
Goku's
he
body
is the
from
Goku of that universe.
Yes.
I mean, Dragon Ball's trash anyways. Like,
Yeah,
doesn't-
but
ugh.
But you know, like the good kind of trash that you sweep up.
and then put
Yeah.
into your corner of I don't know where this joke is going.
I thought we were trying to wrap this episode up, guys.
Yeah.
I thought we were.
It's done. It is over. If you have comments, questions, or corrections, you can write into podcast@fancyramen.com.
If you've been enjoying the show, leave a review with us on Apple Podcasts. Do people do that?
I have no idea. I haven't checked in a long time.
My God, we're
we
so
hope
bad.
you do. We're going to assume benefit of the doubt that you are generous enough to leave us a review.
Be the next one to leave us a review, and Neil will give you a shout out on the podcast next week.
Yeah, we will. We'll shout you out. We'll shout you down.
We'll shout at you.
Yeah, how dare you give us 1 star? Are you kidding me? With our production value?
We got video now.
Yeah, that's 3 stars. That is a definite 3 stars. But really, most importantly, if you're not leaving reviews, another huge favor you can do for us is to tell a friend and help us grow our audience. We're trying to improve our podcast and the channel as much as possible, and one of the easiest ways to see the fruits of our labor is to have more listeners. So please, if you haven't done so already, spread the good word.
These last couple episodes have been a bit of a balancing act for me, trying to figure out how much attention I need to place into production and then how much into the content.
Well, because they're massive in size.
Wait, I missed that joke. What?
No, it's not a joke.
It wasn't.
I'm saying,
It's
like,
2 o'clock now, so yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we've got a lot more audio recording that's been occurring on its own,
this
let
is-
alone all of the other things that we're trying to
Yeah,
implement.
2 hours of audio and video for you to be messing with. Thanks, Neil.
Guys,
Eh.
don't let Neil's effort go to waste.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.